Hello friends, welcome to The Point. In this session, we are discussing about inside our Earth. The Earth is our homeland and it is a dynamic planet. Earth is undergoing changes constantly inside as well as outside. Now let's discuss about the interior of the Earth. The interior of the Earth, we can call it as a cross section of the Earth. The uppermost layer over the Earth's surface is called as crust, and it is the thinnest of all the layers, and it is about 35 kilometers on the continental masses and only 5 kilometers on the ocean floors. We know that the structure of the Earth is divided into four major components. They are the crust, mantle, molten outer core and solid inner core. Earth's core, it is said to be very hot and very dense center of our planet. And there are two types of cores, solid inner core and molten outer core. The mantle, it is mostly solid bulk of Earth's interior. The mantle lies between Earth's dense superheated core and its thin outer layer, the crust. The picture here, it clearly depicts that the crust on the continental masses, it's very huge. Let's take it as 35 kilometer, and in the oceanic crust, it is very less, which is of 5 kilometers. The main mineral constituents of the continental mass are silica and alumina, and thus it is called as Cl, which means silica and alumina. The oceanic crust, it mainly consists of silica and magnesium, and therefore it is called as SEMA, which means silica and magnesium. Just beneath the crust is a mantle, which extends up to a depth of 2,900 kilometers below the crust. The innermost layer is a core with a radius of about 3,500 kilometers, and it is mainly made up of nickel and iron, and it is called as NiF. Ni for nickel and Fe for ferrous, which means iron. The central core, it has a very high temperature and pressure. Rocks and minerals. The Earth's crust, it is made up of various types of rocks. Any natural mass of mineral material that make up the Earth crust is called as rock. Rocks can be of different color, size and texture. There are three major types of rocks. They are igneous rocks, sedimentary rock and metamorphic rocks. When the molten magma cools, it becomes solid. Rocks thus formed are called as igneous rocks. They are also called as primary rocks, and there are two types of igneous rocks, intrusive rocks and extrusive rocks. Lava is actually a fiery red molten magma coming out from the interior of the Earth on its surface. When this molten lava comes on the Earth's surface, it rapidly cools down and becomes solid. Rocks formed in such a way on the crust are called as extrusive igneous rocks. They have a very fine grained structure, for example, basalt. The Deccan Plateau is made up of basalt rocks. Sometimes the molten magma cools down deep inside the Earth's crust. Solid rocks so formed, they are called as intrusive igneous rocks. Since they cool down slowly, they form large grains. Granite is an example of such rock. Rocks roll down, crack and hit each other, and they are broken down into small fragments. These smaller particles, they are called as sediments, and these sediments, they are transported and deposited by wind, water, etc. They lose sediments and they are compressed and hardened to form layers of rocks. These types of rocks are called as sedimentary rocks. For example, sandstone is made up of grains of sand, and these rocks may also contain fossils of plants, animals and other microorganisms that once lived on them. Igneous and sedimentary rocks can change into metamorphic rocks under a great heat and pressure. For example, clay changes into slate and limestone into marble. Rocks are very useful to us. The hard rocks are used for making roads, houses and buildings. And we use stones in many games. For example, 7 stones, hopscotch, 5 stones, etc. Like water cycle, there is also rock cycle. Like one type of rock changes to another type under certain conditions in a cyclic manner, and this process of transformation of the rock from one to another is known as rock cycle. We have learned that when the molten magma cools, it solidifies to become igneous rocks, and these igneous rocks, they are broken down into small particles and they are transported and deposited to form sedimentary rocks. And when subjected to heat and pressure, they change into metamorphic rocks. The metamorphic rocks, which are still under a great heat and pressure, they melt down to form a magma. This molten magma again can cool down and solidify into igneous rocks. And this igneous rocks, due to weathering and erosion, it forms into sediments. And these sediments, again with cementation and compaction, it becomes a sedimentary rock. Rocks are made up of different minerals. Minerals are naturally occurring substances which have certain physical properties and definite chemical composition. Minerals, they are very important and some are used as fuel, for example coal, natural gas and petroleum. And some minerals are used in industries like iron, aluminium, gold, uranium, etc. And some minerals, they are also used in medicines and in fertilizers. That's all for today's session. See you in the next session with some other interesting topic. Thank you.